Hi guys, so today we're going to go over the poetry packet. Hopefully you have had a chance to try this on your own. If you have not had a chance to try it on your own, do me a favor, hit pause on this and go through this packet. At least read through it so you know what to expect. Okay, so in order to do this, you need to either have another tab open where you can flip back and forth between this video and the assignment, or you could get out a notebook and write down what I'm doing and then transfer that over. Or if you have a printer, you could print this out and then just write on the packet. So a couple of different options. So press pause until you get whatever materials you need. If you need to get a pen and paper, or if you need to print this out really fast, go ahead and do so. Or you can just hit pause as you go along and type in your answers or check your answers, and then continue on with the video or replay the video as needed. Okay, so let's start from the top. So poetry device and analysis packet. Read through the poetry packet and complete the highlighted activities as you read. So everything in yellow is what you're going to fill out. Things in blue are definitions and keywords. So you don't have to complete anything, just make sure you read over that. And then you're going to submit this into Google Classroom. And if you print it out and you don't want to retype it up, you can take pictures of your work and just submit that. That's fine. Okay, it does say to make a copy for yourself and have notes. So try to hold on to this if you do it on paper. So let's start with, where do you find poetry? So usually we would do this in class and I would have you guys share your answers and you would say, oh, poetry here and here. And then we would come up with a definition. So just to kind of save some time and move this along, I made a board right here of things that people might have said. So you might say you see poetry in books and in plays, maybe in greeting cards, in music. Maybe you go to a slam poetry event, or in a TV show or a movie. Through art, even in ads and commercials, you could see poetry. Possibly. I don't know. And then what is our definition of poetry? It's kind of a hard thing to define. It's like, I know it when I see it, right? So I merged together some previous conversations and ideas. So poetry is an art form, right? It's a way of using language. It's a type of literature based on interplay of words and rhythm. It often uses rhyme and meter, like the form that it takes on. And it's meant to stir a reader's imagination. It's meant to evoke emotion, right? So that really descriptive language, metaphorical, or just that imagery that it creates. Okay, and right now we're gonna go over part 1 and then model 1. I'm gonna do model 2 on a separate video, just really quick, so I can clear some boards and upload that as well. So I'm a little shaky, so it's probably better if you just read this on your own. But these are your notes, right? So it talks about traditional poetic form and organic poetic form. And you know, traditionally you have your fixed rules, certain number of lines, patterns, and there's different types or different forms that you might be reading. You know, anything from an ode to a sonnet to an epic poem, right? And then on the other side, you have organic poetry, which is, it doesn't have to have a regular pattern. It has less conventional spelling maybe, or lack of punctuation. So kind of almost free from rules, if you will. Free verse, concrete poetry could be forms of organic. And then there's 2 examples. Oh, see, I'm too far. 2 examples. And what I did was I took these examples here and I did the work on a whiteboard. So I'm going to shift over to that. So I'm going to do example 1, and we'll say example 1 is the left example. And example 2 is the right example. Okay. So does the road wind uphill all the way? Yes, to the very end. Will the day's journey take the whole long day? from morn to night, my friend. And that is poem number 1. So let's pause this for a second and I'll meet you at the board. Okay, so example 1, it asks you some questions. What kind of rhyme scheme is this? This is an A-B pattern. So way and day are the A, and end and friend are the B. So you see A, B, A, B. And then it asks, well, how does this coordinate? How do the speakers coordinate? You have clearly 2 different speakers, and what makes it easier to know that you have 2 speakers is the fact that you have this A-B pattern. So person 1 is line A, you know, the way and the day person. And then person 2 is line B, the lines that end with end and front. So you see this conversation and how it plays out. Okay, and now let's look at example 2. So this is an organic example. Wear your colors like a present person. Today is here and now. And then back at the board, example 2. So why do we not have punctuation? If you look at the poem again, you'll see that there is a lack of punctuation. And so you kind of are able to create your own rhythm and use the lines and the form, the way that the words are shifted to kind of create your own rhythm, way of saying it, and where you place emphasis. And so going along with that, why does this structure suit that seize the day message? Because you don't have to worry about the rules. You don't have to worry about, what you think. You just do. So don't ever think, just say it how you feel it and let it come out. And that's that whole seize the day mentality. Make of it what you will, right? Okay, so those are 2 examples of 2 different poems. And now we're going to go into model 1, which is Fire of Driftwood. Okay, so model 1, traditional poetic form. This is an ode, which is a complex lyric poem. And in this poem, it addresses some themes about justice and truth and the passage of time. And odes can take on just about any structure, just so you keep that in mind. It's called The Fire of Driftwood. And it's reflecting on people friends who grow apart. So, The Fire of Driftwood. Let me read it to you guys. And this is just the first couple stanzas. We spoke of many a vanished scene, of what we once had and thought and said, of what had been and what might have been, and who had changed and who was dead. And all that fills the heart of friends when first they feel with secret pain, their lives henceforth have separate ends and never can be one again. Okay, so if we're looking at this poem from technical issues or aspects, how are the stanzas similar? There's 2 stanzas in here, and they each have 4 lines, and they have the same pattern. And the last lines both end with the word, or both start with the word and. So there are some things that they have in common when you're looking at them. And they're a continuation. So the first stanza lends into the next stanza. So, it's about they're reminiscing about how things have changed, right? And then question 2 asks, well, what is that rhyme scheme? And in the first stanza, you have A, B, A, B. The end, and it's an end rhyme again. So the last words of the lines rhyme. And then the second stanza, the same pattern, but it's C, D, C, D, because the rhyme switches. And then question 3, how would you describe the rhythm? So it's a lyrical rhythm, right? There's a flow to it. Words have impact. It's easy to visualize. You get this sense, like as you're reading, of this pain and this sorrow, and it comes through almost automatically, like you can't even help it. And it's traditional in its stanzas and rhyme. So by having that A-B pattern, it helps create that lyrical sound, I think. And then the last question, we kind of touched upon this already. The different ideas expressed in the two stanzas. So let me cut down to back to the poem. So again, the theme is justice and truth and passage of time and friends who've grown apart. So both stanzas are reminiscing. The first one is, I would say, a little bit lighter in the sense, you know, they're talking about things, what might have been, what could have been. And then it like ends with this very like, oh gosh, you know, who has changed and who is dead, like who's no longer there. So you kind of get a sense of like, oh, and then the second stanza, similar idea. And all that fills the hearts of friends, you know, seems a little bit lighter. And then you have that secret pain and the separation. So, you know, where people end up, and the idea is that we just, no matter what, we can't go back. We can't go back to what once was. Like once you crack that egg, once you take the toothpaste out of the canister, whatever toothpaste comes in, it can't go back in. You can't make it whole again. That things that just have changed and will never be once more. So they have this, you know, continuation, same ideas about, you know, these themes, and something that people can relate to. Okay, so that is, I'm going to pause right here. If you want to go back and fill in some answers, absolutely do so. If you want to add some things maybe that I didn't get to or didn't express, feel free to add those in as well. And then I'm going to upload this and do model 2 and upload that one as well.